So, yesterday night the clocks changed. So you say the clocks went forward. So what happened to that hour? Suddenly we got an hour older without having lived it. If this keeps going on, I'll be dead before I even start. Every year they do it, they keep snipping an hour away, but they give me an hour back in the autumn, so I end up level. I think sometime, the late Middle Ages, or maybe the 17th century or something like that, they realised that the calendar they were using, the Julian calendar, which is from the Roman times, was 11 days out of sync. 11 days. So they said, okay, we've got to shift it. So they suddenly switched 11 days. They chopped 11 days off. And there were riots because people felt their lives had been cut off by 11 days. Give us back our 11 days, So it's just how, the world of conventional measurement, which we live by, is such a fabrication. And you don't want to take it too seriously, but it does carry weight, doesn't it? So, as we all recognise, in accordance with clock time, calendar time, the time of the so-called retreat time is drawing to a close. And then the planning comes in, May, Wesak, Songkran, Papa, Vasa, Venerable so-and-so's coming, Ajahn so-and-so's leaving, so the rooms, Sister so-and-so is going to be there, and how to make it all work, which is, of course, the great riddle. The world of planning and organising happens. Conventional realities like that. And of course, with some hindsight, you realise actually what you planned doesn't actually happen in real, organic, embodied experience. It doesn't quite go that way. Sometimes it really doesn't go that way at all. Particularly at Cittaviveka, you're planning an outdoor celebration and just hope the rain doesn't come. But you just can't. And who's going to turn up? We don't know. And is the weather going to be good? We don't know. And then, day before, suddenly this visiting Thai elder turns up. Oh. Things like that. So you realise the way one has to hold planning and organising. A sense of dispassion, which is not frozen, it's just, light. There's a light lifting, you could say. The hooks aren't deeply embedded in convention, they're kind of hovering. We can kind of nudge things in certain ways and incline and be prepared to let it drop. So, then, as we see, experience teaches us this, hopefully. And so what the result is one acquires, or the heart becomes more dispassionate, easeful, hovering, attuned, nimble, not established, not anchored on anything, but really turning towards itself, its own lightness and agility and acuity. That's what, this is the best you can do, really. And not just in terms of organising things, but also in organising yourself, your own passions, inclinations, judgments. What I should be, what I'll never be. Not sure. What I got to be, we'll see. Things change. So, remember when I was very, a lot of duties to do in years gone by. I still have a certain amount, but I think, when I get some spare time, I can do this. Maybe I've got somebody gave me some drawing pencils, so I could do some artwork. That'd be nice, kind of recreational. Yeah. But then now I've got the time, I just don't feel like doing it. So you had these things for 15 years waiting for the moment to arise. The moment it arises, I've lost interest. You never know which way it's going to go, do you? But gradually one's heart begins, I sense, its heart begins less, it's all stuff. You can do it, you cannot do it. So I generally just go with what people ask. Seems the most interesting, creative act is just to try to go with what people ask for, or what the situation requires. Continuing, unfolding artwork, and you try to move in that with a sense of beauty. Not forceful, but clear, not rushing, but not lingering, not holding. Just kind of live beautiful. I think this helps to give a more felt experience for dispassion, or viraga. The Pali word, raga, is like a flavouring, so it's applied to Indian music these days. Dawn raga, evening raga, is a certain mood tone is struck, and then the tune flows along in terms of that particular mood. So it's a dawn mood, which gives a certain kind of gentle rising quality, or an evening raga, it'll have more like a cooling, subsiding quality to it. You get a certain mood tone, and that sets the whatever's going to flow, whatever notes and modalities will flow along. It sets the register of that. Now with viraga, you don't set the register. You don't say it's going to be dawn or sunset. It's not a dawn raga or an evening raga or a midday raga. It's just the music of what happens. So there's no set tone, there's no set register, there's no set chords. It's like you're playing an instrument, but there's nothing on the song sheet. You're playing the music of what happens, in line with what happens. If it's time to be busy, it's busy time. We do the busy raga. It's time to be still, it's the still raga. And eventually it's just no raga, just, no set piece. And, really, this is quite skillful, because clearly, in terms of what we see, there are set pieces, there's Uposatha days, there's weekends, there's events. How to move, realising this is kind of the way it is, for human beings. Now, if you have a community or a society, you have to have these things, these structures. Worldly life, you've got your weekdays and your weekend. I mean, the sun doesn't decide it's Friday or Tuesday. In embodied existence, there's no days and weeks and weekends. But everybody runs according to weeks, daily, weeks and weekends and years and things like that. For some reason, they're all named after Roman deities or Nordic gods. Like what Thor's Day? Day of Thor. He's thunder god, thinking, what are we doing with that? Still using these phrases and terms. That's just how it is, it's Sunday. Oh, it's Sunday means day off or something like that. Church day in Christian country. So that's the kind of way it goes, isn't it? And society works on those, and the working day begins at 8 and stops at 5:30 or 6 or something like that. There is the working day, and then, unless you're doing night shifts. So, those things, so then you get your energy going for important business during that bit, and then there's your time off when you just hang out, go out for a meal, relax, watch TV or something, different raga. Work raga and play raga. But in monastic life, we really kind of say just no viraga. It's all work and it's all play and it's all empty and it's all busy and it's all not busy. It's that sense of where does your passion go? Yeah. This is the cause for the establishing of consciousness of particular preoccupations. The sutta saying what one intends, what one plans, what one schemes about, what one even favours, that becomes a kind of a landing place for consciousness, then lands on that and starts proliferating. Oh yeah, this, and we do that, we do it, kind of thing like that. And there's a certain push to make that happen. So, generally for success, for money, for getting things done, for effectiveness, there's that. And that's also part of what goes on. Can that be even that quality of, we should try to get this thing organised for Wesak? Can that be something that still has that sort of flavour of just lightly? Let's hold this lightly, but clearly. Let's not get preoccupied with other things. Because a lot of the inclinations and planning is not what's on the calendar. It's certain underlying planning for, let me find pleasure, let me find what I like, let me be where I want to be, let me not be with what I don't want to be with. So these underlying inclinations are actually more fixed than the calendars, which have a certain fixity to them. But if you're learning to sort of like hold the calendar and the clock lightly, maybe that's helpful. So there is a calendar, there is a clock, let's hold it lightly, then perhaps one's own will get that sense of the ease of the heart. And maybe that flavour, that quality helps us to look at our own inner dispositions, with their pressures and their demands and their I can't stand this and I need to be there, all that kind of stuff. Just, who's setting this one? What's this raga? This is the me raga. Playing the old songs over and over. A symphony arranged by an idiot. Mm. 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 So, the Buddha gave this very striking image of the sunlight landing. He says, look at this. So we're sitting in this hall here, now the sun, as you see, it comes from behind me, lands on the wall. Sunlight lands on the wall over there. You see that? And the Bhikkhu goes, oh yeah, I see that. What happens when we take the wall down? Oh, it lands on the earth. Okay. What if you remove the earth? Oh, well, it lands on that. They believe that the earth was floating in fluid, in water, in a sea, cosmic sea. If you move the earth, it lands in the water. What if you remove the water? It doesn't land anywhere. This is when consciousness is not established on an object. Then it is the unestablished. Not established upon feelings, upon dispositions, even upon circumstances that consciousness brings in. Sight, sounds, touches, thoughts. It's not established. Why is it not established? Because one is seen with dispassion. This stuff is changeable, not satisfying, comes and goes, nothing to get really stirred up about. It's this dispassion. With a fading of dispassion, there is liberation. Chitta is liberated from this fever, therefore it doesn't keep propelling consciousness into various trajectories, aims. The Buddha, this is actually a very profound teaching, because most of us would kind of, get some of it, but when you realise the Buddha said, consciousness can be established on the immaterial planes, on the subtle psychic planes, on the kind of ethereal cosmic levels. Yeah? And so, even that, I wish I could have more of that. Yeah. So even the inclination towards space, I need more space, is still establishing it on something. A lot going on, I'd like to have some more space. Then the consciousness is driven, inclined towards space. And there's never enough. And then naturally it fills up again. So this encouragement is in dispassion. And you matures. I don't think there's a technique for it, so much as just purely going through the experience of seeing one's mind lurch onto something, grip something, struggle with it. Oh, okay. And then learn to get away from it all, avoid it all. No, I don't want that. It comes running for you. So how to, receive impressions, time, space, duty, people, events, without that feeling established by them, passion for them or passion against them. And of course, in terms of our, practice, daily practice, certainly in monasteries, at least forest monasteries, it's a lot more embodied. I think one of the real issues for, on many levels, for human beings is the disembodiment. People live in a virtual reality of media, ideas, spreadsheets, plans, ideologies, all up in the air. Even the currency is up in the air. There's no such thing. There's no hard currency. It's all floating credibilities based upon debt. It's just shifting absence around, shifting debt around. There's no hard currency. It's just all imaginary. And yet the belief in it, the conviction in it, creates wealth and poverty. Power and disempowerment. Not the virtual reality itself, but the way it's held. The way it's held. And you notice when they had this kind of COVID crisis, and then there wasn't any money coming in because there's no trading, they just invented some. They had to get together, we'll invent some money. Because it's all invention anyway, it's just invent some more. There's nothing underneath it. And now, then we get the COVID's over. Oh, right, we'll stop that game, we'll start again. Now it's serious money now. It's all just fantasy. So you kind of, this is the way the world is. Disembodiment, ideas, theories, ideologies. And the amount of pain can be caused and real effects by clinging to those. So the average person is dragged along by ideas and possibilities and announcements and media and statements and war cries and anthems and slogans and political jargon and babble, and then spend their time looking at a screen. They say that nowadays most human interaction occurs on a screen. It's rather than human being talking to a human being in the flesh, human being talks on a screen to another human being on a screen. Yeah, seemingly, so what? And yet, a kind of there's a shift there. And they're saying, these Facebook accounts where actually the person's died, but their account's still open with all their messages in it. So a lot of the Facebook accounts are dead people. Still talking. This is like, When you come to embodied reality, and the Buddha himself could, when he was a bodhisattva, could go into these immaterial states, apparently very, very skilled, very well, very adept at it. And yet he thought, no, the real path lies in the embodied. Coming down, embodied, aloof or withdrawn from sense pleasure. Just calm, comfortable, cool, peaceful. And then what the heart picks up in that. Something living, real, with energies moving through it that nourish the heart, that don't deplete it. Because the screen can't talk, the screen can't care for you. Money doesn't care for anybody. Facts and figures don't care whether you're alive or dead. But embodied people do. Yeah. They have loving kindness. Screens don't. Dollars definitely don't. So we come to the level of embodied reality. The heart can function very effectively in that. And one of our things is to try to, accommodate the conventional theories and ideas to make them fit into the actual embodied living presences of the people concerned. That's a major translation and careful processing. As I was saying earlier, if you've got 3 people in the monastery, you've got to do 3 people's work. If you've got 20 people in the monastery, you do 20 people's work. You just, whatever the work says it needs to be done, you do what you can actually do. And that simple thing, even in terms of your own meditation practice, what your own capacities are to maintain steadiness, to maintain anchorage, to maintain clarity, to lean against the push of craving and aversion, how capable you are, how much, what you need to support that. Poor Cha say, if you've got a 10-wheeler truck, you drive that. If you've got a wheelbarrow, you push that. Just figure out whether you've got a wheelbarrow or a 10-wheel truck before you start figuring how much you're going to carry. If you're trying to carry a whole load of stuff in a wheelbarrow, it's not going to work. So what's your capacities? And knowing that and feeling not, I should be a truck when I'm a wheelbarrow. No, just be a good wheelbarrow. And just do your work. Say, shoving the same old stuff. So the embodied reality presents this possibility for the heart to be flexing and moving energy around in a way that's beautiful, endearing, loving, kindly, steady, rather than impassioned or locked into a register, into some kind of got to do or can't do register. Just kind of stay comfortable, stay fluid in your heart. And this is then the embodied reality. You can do that. You can work with it because your body responds to that. And your body feels properly attuned. If you don't do anything, the body gets kind of slack, stale. If you stress it too much, it gets tight and tense. If you don't use it at all, you go out into some very strange spaces. Disembodied spaces, which is a real problem for meditators. They just go out. It's some kind of delusion realm which seems wonderful because nothing's bothering me. So, you take something like walking. You see, realizing we have the lovely thing of walking, rather than just scrolling or chatting down a phone, which is certainly handy. But you walk somewhere, and you walk. Get that. Doing walking meditation is a good mode for seeing how this sense of going on, the ongoing, the sense of becoming, the ongoing, how that happens and how much you're configured by that, because there is the realm of becoming. The idea is that the heart remains aloof from that. So in becoming, we're going to the kitchen. You see, you go 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4 step, 5 step. And it's kind of, first of all, you start to recognize you're walking along wrong, your head's already in the kitchen, working out the menu. Okay, you've got to get there. You walk there. Dong, 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 dong. As you're walking, you notice the change of air, the coolness, the bird song. And it just helps to just soften some of that intense mental preoccupation and planning. It still hovers in the background. You've got an idea, but then just put that on hold for a while. See how we go. And then another thing you notice that you can only walk, it has to include space. It's this foot moves through air, comes down. If you don't have the space between the footsteps, there's no such thing as walking. So it's, the form arises, which is the sensation of the foot, legs, but also you get the space, as you move from one step to the next, there's a space between the two, isn't there? Do you notice that when you do walking meditation? You notice the form arises, dissolves space, and then the next one arises, dissolves space. And the next one isn't the same as the last one. Actually, specifically. Generically, we can talk about walking as a generic, as an overall perception, but actually specifically, you can't locate it. Is the walking this step or that step? Well, this step is sort of like the next step, but not really. And what about the space? Is that space the same as that space? You can't measure it. So if you can't determine the footsteps or the space, where's the walking gone? It's just a perceptual, generic way of handling this shifting, changing quality. Which is never repeated. So when I walk from my kuti, and I have a path I've made out of wood chips and paving slabs. So the textures are rather different. As I walk, the textures that the foot lands on are subtly different. Some are hard, some are soft. They change from day to day, whether it's wet or dry. So it's a very clear indication. Where you've got a very even paved surface, it's not so easy to acknowledge. It seems like it's the same thing happening over and over again. You actually get into it. There's textures of the foot touching the ground, the speed, the element, there's slightly difference. So even when we're doing something that's repetitive and seemingly, like walking, it isn't. Can you kind of get into that? Not just as a kind of study in phenomena, but just notice how, you can still do exactly the same thing. From the external level, you're walking to the kitchen, but walking without preoccupation, without a sense of going somewhere, without even the sense of walking, is kind of liberating. And yet, we do recognize things are occurring. But the fixity and the embeddedness and the futureness and the sense of moving, going somewhere, all those are kind of just, floating as, that's what we call it. But I know something else. And so then there's no establishment. It's not established. It's not established, it can't be disrupted. What you get established on, an idea, a possibility, a project, a sensation, you will lose it. It's going to change, it's going to shift. You can get knocked off it, you can fall over, for example. But if there's no establishment, you can't get knocked off it. Established on feeling, on sensation, you can lose it. But if your focus is on qualities of sensitivity, openness, poise, then there's that. There's a different, something that's different to tune into, which doesn't negate conventional reality, it just moderates it. We're still going to be walking, and yet we're not walking. Nobody's walking. When you have this is kind of something that can be experienced, but very, it's baffling to describe it. And in terms of time and place, it just doesn't, you can't get it. You can't measure it now. You can't say, well, I didn't walk from my kuti to the kitchen. Well, you wish you did, I saw you. You arrived 3 minutes later than you should have done. No. You can't measure it, because that's measurement. That's the mano-vijnana. And the Buddha is saying there's a place where the mano-vijnana stops, where it isn't leading on. And there's that relief from that constant probing and pushing and tugging and yattering and distracting. So we're completely with walking without walking. This is a cultivation. Cars more difficult, perhaps. You get this. We have this sat nav, which whenever I drive one of these things with a sat nav, there's always an interesting relationship between me, the driver, and the sat nav. Which is, sat nav is blithely telling us to go this way and that way, which doesn't actually happen. And then if we go off route, it starts to get a bit flustered and try to shovel us around, and then it sends you up some dead end. I think the last time we went, I think I was going with Craig to Hemel Hempstead. We ended up in the back, in some dead end of an industrial estate. with a fenced off. It just sat there was telling us there wasn't a free road. So these things actually take over our lives. So much more tricky. Unfortunately, one of the blessings of our lives is we try to use cars sparingly, if at all. Walking is much more fruitful. So, and then wherever we're going, we're generally sitting, standing, walking, moving. Whether you're sitting in the Dhamma hall, you listen to a talk, or chanting's going on, or just waiting for the meal, you're just sitting. Sounds are coming in, instructions are coming in, you're sitting. If your heart affected by this and by that, things shift and change, you stay light with it. Listening to a talk, you hover over it. This is Ajahn Chah's recommendation, and you get little bits that meant something for you. And I would always say many times, if I talk for 45 minutes, if you've got 5 minutes of something you can remember out of that, that's plenty. The rest of it just go, That's fine, it's not, that's what talking's about. It's about just resounding until something strikes your bell. So let's continue our practice today. How that configures. I think there's a more open time this afternoon to regulate your own process, but let's look at what you're inclined towards, and Just contemplate inclination, where it's going, and hovering over that, feeling the qualities of that. Anyone?